Okay, so we're on to our last talk of the day. Um, and there is no better woman to bring this home and to wrap this up. I would say my life goals are to earn more money and have less responsibility. But Beth has just gone that, saw that, and is taking on all the responsibility. So having formally fled to Paris and abandoned us all and abandoned the women in tech scene here, for which she has been a key part for many years, she finally came home and is taking on one hell of a task and is going to talk to us about startup life. Thank you, Beth.
What an intro. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Danielle, for that intro. It is far too much. And thank you for making it to the end of the day. I know it's been a very long day and you've listened to a lot of very awesome talks by incredible women. So I'm going to hopefully touch on something a bit less technical. There will be some tech in here, but I just want you to feel maybe inspired about what you're thinking of next in terms of your journey. I think we're in a very interesting time in the sort of tech world and our ecosystem. So there's lots of opportunities, and yes, unfortunately, there will be AI, so that is a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, I don't profess to know everything, so definitely come chat to me at the end if you're interested in some things, or Q&A throughout. If you have something you want to share as well, definitely just ask Danielle for the mic. I'm sorry, Danielle, if there's a lot of running. Yeah, this is very open, so let's just like end it with like collaboration. So yeah, a little about myself. So I started out as a software engineer back in, my internship was in 2015. I worked at a company called Puppet, now called Perforce. Some of you in the audience might know it. I was the 13th hire in Belfast. They were a 300 company based in Portland, but I got to experience that sort of startup culture very early on, and that's when I fell in love with technology. So I stayed with Perforce Puppet for 4 years, and in that time I had a wonderful boss. He asked me, what are your 5-year, like what are you thinking for your 5-year goals, 5 to 10 year goals? And at the time, unfortunately, our product manager maybe wasn't the best product manager in the world. We were all getting a bit frustrated at the experience. And I said, I want to learn what it's like to be a product manager. Like, what does it mean? What is the responsibility? Could I do that as my job? So he got me in contact with our VP of product. He got me interviews and conversations with a lot of our product managers in our team. And I really got to understand that they were the way I described it at the time, they're kind of like the conductor. So they work with the engineers and the designers and customers to bring all the information together in terms of, is it feasible that we can build the thing that customers need? And can we design it in such a way that it's of value to them and usable by them? So that was our kind of a very loose way of describing product. So at the time, we got a new VP of product, and she kind of liked the way I was thinking, and she gave me the opportunity to move into product management whilst I was at Puppet. So very fortunate, and if you are thinking about that journey yourself, would definitely recommend maybe a lateral move internally first. There are opportunities, but that does get you that chance to sort of change sort of departments. So did that, but unfortunately, Puppet at the time, we were an on-prem product, and cloud was very, very, very big 2018. Everyone was going through a cloud migration, and we were kind of a bit slow on that front. And we were struggling to find what our next move was. So as a product team, our vision was a bit undefined, and I really wanted to learn from people that were really pushing the boundaries of product as a whole. And so I looked at opportunities. This is during COVID, actually, 2021. And there's a company called Datadog. So Louise, the lovely woman from NISRA, I was talking to at lunch, this is the dog I was referring to. So yes, I joined Datadog and got the opportunity to move to France for 2 years. Datadog is a DevOps company. So I know Izzy mentioned monitoring earlier. So similar to Dynatrace and Splunk, we're an observability and monitoring tool. So got to do that for a couple of years. And then I launched a product with Datadog, very incredible experience, did it in front of an audience in New York, and then was like, okay, do I do this again, or do I bring that knowledge back home? So luckily there's a company called Buddybase, which is the lovely bee sign, beside Datadog, that was looking for a lead product manager to come in and help them. They just raised a bit of money, and they were looking for someone to drive sort of the product, to find product market fit. And so I flew back home and came back to the Belfast ecosystem. The one thing I definitely did not include in these slides, and why Danielle gave me such a lovely introduction, myself and Sapphire Duffy, who's in the audience, used to lead Women Who Code Belfast as directors. I did that for about 3 years. There's a few leaders in the audience too, which I'm very happy to see. And so I got very involved in our local startup ecosystem during that time. And so coming back, it was really exciting to get back into that side of the ecosystem and the community. And I also started scouting for a venture fund based in London. So venture money is a very unique environment which will give lots and lots of millions of dollars to startup companies. And so this just really piqued my interest because I was like, hey, like I'm seeing all of these companies getting a lot of investment. What are they doing differently to the companies I've worked for, and could I do that myself? So I started mulling over this whilst I was at Buddybase, and around the time, this was after ChatGPT was released, AI was taking off, I got to play around with code again. I was using sort of like ChatGPT to like refresh my coding skills, just having a bit of fun. I was like, could you solo found a company with where AI is today in the current environment we're in? And so March last year, I kind of was towing this idea, was going to jump in full time into my own startup. I did get the opportunity to work with a lovely team of people at Founder Labs, which is a local accelerator based in Ormo Labs that is in an ops role for 6 months. So they gave me the space to really figure out like what direction what was the product going to look like, what do customers need. And the team there is wonderful. If anyone is looking for a mentor, Claire Halliday is a wonderful human being. And so I did that, and then in September last year, I went full-time into Stowe. So what really piqued my interest about AI was conversational. We were going back to chat interfaces. We were doing a lot via text again. And I also noticed a lot of work in Europe from my time in Paris was starting to happen over like WhatsApp, Telegram, like people, lots of communities are on those sort of channels. You probably are in some communities yourself. And so I started to play around with the idea, could I streamline my life? Could I add a productivity AI layer between all of those communication channels and access it wherever I was? So I didn't need to install another app. I didn't need to learn another habit. It was just built into every tool I prefer to use today. And so that was the thesis for Stowe. And so that's where I started. So these are just some lessons that I've learned along the way. And it's just going to be 10 lessons about this experience. And yeah, there's Q&A, but by all means, jump in if there's something you want to chat about throughout. So first of all, ship early. So like I said, started thinking about this in March last year, and it wasn't until September that I went full time. And there's a very famous quote by the founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman. I don't necessarily love everything about Reid Hoffman, but this I do agree with, and that is, if you're not embarrassed about the first version of your product, you've shipped too late. So these are the two versions of the website that I've done over time. The first one, because I was looking at sort of a conversational AI product, I really wanted to get creative with the website. I was like, let's have speech bubbles, let's have animation, like you're typing, like it's a full messaging experience. People will love it. So I spent time, I used a product called Framer, would definitely recommend, and that's actually what I've used for both of these websites. But the first one took me, I'd say, a few evenings, stayed up late a few nights until maybe 2, 3 a.m., just like building out this experience, and was really excited to release it maybe December last year. And so did the release, posted about it on LinkedIn, and had people come up and be like, oh, I love your website, it's really interactive, but I'm not sure what the product does. And I was like, oh, okay. So all of that nice thinking doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's just getting the message of what you're building out there is the main thing. So the website does not have to be pretty, does not have to have all of this lovely interaction. Just start talking about what you're doing with every person you know, and that also includes on LinkedIn as well. So it's going to make people uncomfortable, but just go on LinkedIn and share that this is the world you're exploring. You may not get it right the first time, and that'll be a lesson as well in this somewhere, but it's just to start making sure that you're on the right track, because you could end up building the wrong thing and be really disappointed when that reception is not the one you anticipated. So that's lesson 1, ship early. Lesson 2, in my mind, you still need a co-founder in 2025. Unfortunately, where we are today with the tools available to us, AI will help with a lot of things, but there are some things it will not help with. So again, I paraphrase, this could be biased. I am a technologist at heart. So all the things in the technical side of the page are kind of like, yeah, this can help. But everything in red, AI probably doesn't help with. Everything in green, it can help with. Yellow, it'll help you a little, but you need to do the extra mile. So for me, I would thought that documentation, debugging, and architecture, it gave me information about where to go, where to navigate, but ultimately I had to make the decision in the end. CI/CD, please tell me if you find a tool that can do that really well with AI, because I do not trust AI to deploy anything that I'm doing right now. But it can help with researching new libraries. Like Izzy mentioned, definitely use it to like read some old code, read API documentation. That will definitely speed up the process for sure. Operationally, so these are some of the things you will have to do if you start your own company. It is about accounting. It's about documenting every interaction you have with customers, every meeting you have with like your accountant. Like there is an endless amount of paperwork involved that you just need to keep track of. And unfortunately, that will be on you to manage that. Social media management, I have done this since Women Who Code, and I've never found a tool that has done this 100% well, that is free. Buffer would be one that's reasonably good, but it does cost money. I do think there are some AI like ChatGPTs or GPTs appearing that will help with this. And if you go on the AI agents subreddit on Reddit, there are some interesting conversations going on. Have not went deeper than that though. So yep, email, website, that's on you. Project planning, again, still very much a human needed in the loop. And then from sales perspective, you're the one that's talking to those users and defining the messaging about why your product is the best product for users today. So that playbook about how sales, you for now, but later a team, talks about the product needs to be on you to define. Outbound marketing, you've probably seen how much LinkedIn has changed, X has changed, or Twitter. Everywhere is now full of automated AI-driven like messages and posts. It is a scary world, but that can be automated. So that's one thing that if you are thinking about starting a company, it will help a lot with that. Networking, not everyone's favorite thing. Unfortunately, this is something you do have to do as a founder. I do believe it will help you a ton. You're not just networking with investors, you're also networking with people you might hire someday. You're also working with people that might refer customers to you. So you do need to just have those conversations and make sure that's in your calendar to go to events, maybe not every evening, but some evenings, and to give up some time to just meet new people. And the last thing is pricing. That is something that is an art, and I do not profess to know the answer to that art, but it does require a lot of understanding the price of product. And so that for me is not something that AI can necessarily help entirely with today. But again, could be bias. Again, I'm not a sales or a ops person. Okay, on to number 3, the mom test. Raise your hand if anyone has read the mom test. Wow. I think there's one person in the audience that just put their hand up. So the mom test is a wonderful book. I cannot remember the author's name, but nope. It's something Fitzgerald. But it's a book that a lot of product managers are encouraged to read before they start working as a product manager. It tells you how you should have interviews with users in order not to lead them on and learn about them. So the gist of it, if I try and summarize it in one slide, is your mom loves you and will always say what you're doing is great. And I can actually 100% agree with this because my mom loves everything I'm doing. She's using the product, the MVP I've built so far. My dad's using it and they think it's wonderful. Are they the paying customer though? No. So this is something to bear in mind. What you should be doing is you should be talking to users about their lives rather than your idea. Never say, so how are you using WhatsApp? How are you using LinkedIn? Just be like, what's the biggest problem that you're having in your life? Like, what got you out of bed this morning? And then that will make you understand what the biggest problem for that user is. As specifics about the past and not, generalizations, generics of the future, don't profess to know what they will need tomorrow. It's all about what has happened to them today or previously that matters. And talk less and listen more. Active listening is a wonderful art. So definitely take some time and you don't have to jump in with your solution. Just sit back and they'll keep talking. The users will keep talking if it's a big enough pain. Record every user conversation. And this doesn't need to be a user or a customer. This is common sense to a lot of us, but this is where AI does help. There's a wonderful new tool called Granola. It's been around for about a year, maybe 2 years. And there are these, instead of having a note taker that jumps into your meetings, it sits in the background, just like records the conversation for you and will transcribe it back. It is very, very useful, not just with users, but in life. It's like they spent a lot of time refining their transcription properties versus just like building out a very flashy product. So the insights are very, very accurate and useful. The Pinecone, so Pinecone is a vector database. Some of you might know about like Pinecone itself. The reason I have it on the screen is I talked to a wonderful founder who's based here. He's actually from England, but he said he takes all of his customer notes, embeds them, drops them into the likes of Pinecone, and then queries them to write LinkedIn articles for him later. So you use that to auto-generate the work that you need to do later, which I think is a really, really good idea. I have not done that yet myself, but it just shows you how this can speed up that founder process and talking to customers and how to push that into your marketing material too. So yes, record every user conversation. Get out of your comfort zone. One community is not enough. I have been coming to these events for many years, and I love the Women Techmakers community. I'm also part of a lot of different communities too. This is very intense, I know, and do not maybe go and join them all straight away. I don't think you should be sitting on Slack all day, every day, reading every message and every comment, but this will open up a lot of doors to new people. I'm heading to New York next week as part of a program, and through one of these communities, I'm actually meeting someone for coffee just because we met in one of these groups. And so that's the kind of relationship building these communities will help with. They will not offer all the answers, and definitely take every community and person with a pinch of salt. You will get a lot of opinions about your journey, so it's up to you to make the call in terms of who you listen to and who you don't listen to. We're moving through these very quickly, so hopefully you can leave a bit earlier and get to the after party. Shout about your achievements. So I really struggle with this. I like sitting in front of a computer and working through a very technical problem at times. And whenever someone asks me, like, so what are you building? Because it's based on conversational AI, I'm like, it's just this like personal assistant thing. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And then I had the experience of watching someone else do this, and they went it so deep about what they were doing. I was like, oh, I'm actually doing something like that. And so this is actually what's going on behind the scenes with the MVP I've built. It's not the whole diagram, it's just part of our diagrams. This is using a product called, I think it's Cloudcraft or Codecraft. It was a Datadog acquisition, so that's why I know about it, but it's useful for mapping out your infrastructure. Do not judge me on the infrastructure as well. Again, MVP, but it just shows you how much work is actually going on behind the scenes. It is not just something that is small. You should be proud of what you're doing, and you should talk about it with other people. So that's something to bear in mind. Just shout about what you're doing. Again, back to AI, and this is probably a bit more around the recommendations. It will help you move faster, but probably in a very insecure direction. I know Megan was talking about security and data privacy earlier, and it's something that maybe I'm not as passionate about, but you definitely need to be conscious of as you start using these tools. So this actually happened to me. I was using ChatGPT to help me with some CDK work. So I was spinning up a cloud environment in the CDK. I'd written everything in Golang, but I just was like, oh, I can't be bothered like hand coding this myself right now. Let's just like take inspiration from some of my existing code, and like ChatGPT will help me. But what this particular piece is doing, I needed to set up a new role for a service. And the role that it's assigning would actually give a user, once they authenticated, access to all of the AWS infrastructure behind the scenes. So anybody could go and start querying my database and getting other users' data very, very quickly. So it's useful for learning, but read every single line it gives you back. Do not immediately go and push it to production. You need to be very, very careful about those kind of use cases. Here are some tools I would recommend that I've been playing around with. So I use Claude as my main sort of like conversational AI tool. I've been playing around with Codium and Cursor. I recently downloaded Cursor. I do know that there is a CEO of a very large company that uses Cursor as well to code. He has not done so in a while, but now he's back into coding mainly through that. Convergence is a new, relatively young company. If you've been playing around with ChatGPT Operator, which allows you to click around a browser like a user would, Convergence have their own offering called Proxy, which is much cheaper. So if that's something that's interesting to you, definitely look out for it. I'm really excited about where multi-agents are going. And I've been playing around with building my own using some frameworks. And right now I'm using CreAI and Agno. CreAI is a paid product, but they have an open source tier, and Agno is open source. One thing I would bear in mind is I did look at the license for Agno, and it's an MPL license, which essentially means if you change their core code base in any way, you have to make that code open source. So always looking at open source technology, look at the license they're using, because if you start adapting that, you might have to make your own code open source. So something to just be aware of. Granola, like I mentioned, and then I actually added AI evals recently. I'm very new in this journey into looking at evaluations, but as a product manager, as a former product manager, this is where the future of sort of product manager seems to be going. And that is defining the golden evaluations that the AI products will be built on top of. So like golden evaluations essentially say, this is the input and here's what the output should be. And just making sure that the generation of the new sort of code and experience aligns to those goldens. That means good cases and bad cases. So say a customer tries to return something you don't want, or if they don't want to return something and want to maybe buy something new, you don't want them to return it by accident, the agent behind the scenes to return that for you. So it's trying to confirm all those possible use cases. Again, starting out very early in this journey, but I think it should be called out for people looking at product management in the future. Infrastructure-wise, I am a huge AWS fan. Bedrock is wonderful for testing out different models, so I would definitely recommend that. I will talk about credits in a minute, so that's another reason I like AWS. Pinecone, like I mentioned, for a vector database, very generous free tier. If you want to play around with it, definitely go for it. And serverless functions, I am a big, like, if you want to get going quickly, just start building serverless functions. You do not need to build the whole service or the system behind the scenes and monolithic repo, like as I mentioned. Not AI, but really, really fun to play with. Framer, which is the one I used to build the websites, very interactive and really great. For marketing and for campaigns to users, Dripify and Lemlist are really good automation tools that will send people LinkedIn invites, and then you can follow up with sort of messages to them, asking to talk to them. So what I've been doing is I've been setting up campaigns that will add someone on LinkedIn, and then we'll message them being like, hey, could I grab some of your time for a cup of coffee based on certain characteristics that I'm looking for? Again, Megan's probably freaking out in the back because that is very data driven. And that is the challenge with using platforms like LinkedIn. It does make you accessible to sort of a lot of sales outreach, unfortunately. But LinkedIn is probably the best platform right now if you are a founder yourself. Typegrow is an interesting one. I use it for LinkedIn formatting. So LinkedIn is very just plain text, but it allows you to bold, all that fun stuff. To be honest, does it work? I'm not 100% sure, but it does give you a bit of differentiation in the sea of posts that you see today. CapCut is a unique one. I started playing around with TikTok, and I do feel like you do need to get ahead with social media if you're starting out. So I'm throwing that in there too. And Figma, even if you're not a designer, just getting to grips with how Figma works for social media, for any marketing materials is very, very good just to get the basics. So lesson number 8, you do not need an investment. And I did paraphrase that this is SaaS software specific because I know, because I'm building a SaaS product, there are a lot of credits available online. AWS will start you off with 1K credits free, but it can scale all the way up to 100,000 credits depending on who you're partnering with and different things. But it just means that free tier is very, very generous and allows you lots of opportunity to try things. I've got Hugging Face here. They've got a lot of language models available to play with that may be the exact kind of model you need. So definitely a lot of them are open source models too. So I think it's a great opportunity to find something unique for you. I can't, oh, the starter, I think that was Pinecone. So yeah, like I said, for a vector database, their free tier is very, very generous. But there are savings that you will need for other things. So I do admit that if you're a parent, if you have maybe elderly parents, if you have a car, if you have a house, that will make it slightly harder. And I'm very aware that I'm in a very lucky position that I don't have children. But something to be aware of is that those credits will not cover some of these things too. It's okay if the baby's ugly. So we need to talk about this one a little. So like I said, I started this journey in about September last year, building out an MVP, which I released in December, and there'll actually be a QR code if you want to test the MVP at the end. But whenever it got to getting feedback from users, no one was beating down the door saying it was exactly what they needed. It was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of nice to have. And you'll hear that as a product person, someone say, it's okay. It's not the signal you need to build a scalable company. And so what I've had to realize is actually it's okay if the first one's not great, if it doesn't work like you expected it to work. It's just keep moving, keep pivoting. So right now I'm in the process of a pivot. I'm looking at how AI will help smaller businesses and how we can actually level that playing field, because right now enterprises are getting all of the exciting opportunities that small businesses do not. And the last one, as I come to 5 minutes before the end, the only way is up. This journey and this time is the perfect time to try something. If you don't succeed, you will open so many doors besides that. I know a lot of investors that were field founders. So you can get into investment, you can join incredible companies as well. So their own benefit is to further your career. That's something to just think about as well. It's the best time for this. There are wonderful programs available. To be honest, we need more women founders. I think it's less than 2% of investment goes to women founders. So yeah, this is the opportunity, folks. And that's all from me. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Any questions on that? Okay, I'm not doing that one. No.
You're saying, thanks very much for the lecture, but you're saying you thought it was the best time. Is that because of AI, or you just think it's a good time? Investors are wanting to invest money, and
I think it's a combination. I think it does help mean that you can, for those maybe gaps in knowledge that you have, you've got something to lean on to get that experience. I think people are they're open to this new opportunities. And I think given where the credits are, yes, you can start without having to put any of your own money in. So yeah, I think it's a combination of both for sure.
Thanks.
Great. Any others? Okay. Had to get me to move as well here. Like she's being lazy on that one. Let's get that step counted. I need it.
Hi, Beth. What's the biggest mistake that you've made so far in the last 12 months?
Oh, good question. I think, okay, yeah. So as a technologist, I think it's very easy to just fall into let's build. Let's just sit in a room, get through the code. It's fun. I'm enjoying myself. And I think I did that for maybe, it wasn't long. Like, to be honest, the amount of time I did for development, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks to get the MVP ready. But I think I could have talked to more people first to know if that was the right direction to go. I think now I'm on the right track. But yeah, maybe don't get so into the tech initially. Just talk to lots of people first.
All right. Any more? Oh, yeah. Awesome. Sorry, guys. Squish past.
Hi, Beth. Thank you. As a solo founder, what techniques and practices do you use to manage cybersecurity in your application?
Oh, good question. So everything is we have just one internet gateway, and then everything is within an own VPC. In terms of cyber, so that's it right now. The initial MVP is built on top of WhatsApp, so it's encrypted until it gets to us. We decrypt and then we encrypt at rest. So that's it for now. Anything else you wanted to know? Yeah. I can definitely dive deeper into the architecture with you after too.
Thank you, Beth. Those are great tips.
Oh, sorry. No.
Please, on tip 7, you said you don't need investments. Please, could you explain more on that?
So I think because of the availability around, you can get started with websites very cheaply, networking, going to events to talk about the products that are free. For the tech side, there are platforms that give you a lot of or beginners access or starter access for free. So in terms of the operating expenses, they're much lower than it maybe was sort of like 20 years ago. So from an investor perspective, they're seeing it as you should be able to build like the MVP without anything. So that's kind of what I mean, is you don't need investment in that regard. You can bootstrap, and that's something I am considering, is do I go down the bootstrap path? Do I just put together a pricing page and do advanced features for people that want to pay? That's another path, and I think something that everyone should consider now, because realistically, it's the investment and venture landscape is changing quite a lot. It's not these 2, 5, 10 million rounds that you need to grow a big engineering team. Everyone's much leaner. And that's something that I think is scaring a lot of investors.
Great. I think there was... we'll get the one on the far side while I make my way to you.
Hi, thank you for the great talk.
Thanks.
In terms of tools, why do you use Claude but not the others? And why do you use Framer but not Webflow or the others? Thank
Good
you.
question. So I went with Claude because whenever Anthropic came out with Claude, I got really interested in how they're using constitutional AI. So constitutional AI, rather than generative AI, you create... ChatGPT's kind of moved into this, but essentially you create a set of rules that every time a query is made, it will check against your constitution to make sure that it aligns to the rules you've defined. So that really interested me because it kind of put some permissions into what could be used and things like that. And that's why I went with Claude. For Framer, I liked that it was like Figma. I think Webflow gives you too much sort of options. It kind of goes into the mobile app development, whereas Framer is very much design driven from my perspective. So that's why I could quickly replicate my Figma skills with Framer.
Beth, thanks so much. And your talk was really, you can use the word simple, because it made it feel simple, but I'm sure it wasn't. What gave you the confidence to jump?
I think it was, I've seen different teams over time. I've seen people that maybe have built companies that had less experience than myself and be very successful. And I think I just realized, like, why not give it a try? I was admittedly very lucky that I was in a position, I'd moved back to Belfast and moved in with my folks for a while. I had some savings. So I just thought this was the perfect time for me to kind of explore this. It's not simple by any shape or means, for sure, but no, I know you don't mean that. But yeah, I think it was just for me, I did get lucky, and I call it lucky.
And sorry, can I just quick follow up?
Yeah.
Do you think you could do it alongside your main job if you weren't as supported as you were?
I think that's a hard question.
Well, it's
Today,
hypothetical.
but at the same time, I think today it does require a lot of time and dedication. So I think if you're in a full-time job and you've got an idea you're thinking about for sure, spend time talking to users. Maybe if you can build that MVP, use AI, make it scrappy, just something. It doesn't even need to be a software product. It can be the output of it could be a newsletter that you get people to subscribe to. It could be a community people join on Facebook if you're using Facebook. There's much smaller ways to test. And once you've got enough validation, then I think jump in.
Create your own support.
Yeah.
Build your own confidence and then go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's definitely key.
Cool. I've let you be grilled there, Beth, but I think that's a great point to end on. So thank you very much, Beth.